You are not losing sales because your deck sucks. You're losing them because your ask weighs more than your trust bank can carry. Most MSPs drop VCSO pitches like a barbell on a toddler, and then they wonder why the client flinched. This isn't about teaching cybersecurity. It's about emotional timing. It's about identity and what actually makes a buyer feel ready. In today's episode, we're not just whiteboarding strategy, we're dismantling the belief that more logic closes more deals. Jesse Miller joined me to unpack this hard truth, which he dropped on the full episode, and that is that value isn't a checklist. It's emotional readiness. And if you haven't earned the right to make the ask, then no slide, no stat, and no scare tactic is going to save you. And let's fix that right now. Imagine that you're asking a toddler to lift a barbell, right? That is what most MSPs are doing when they're selling cybersecurity strategy. It's not that the client doesn't need it. It's that the ask is way heavier than the trust you've actually built. So every time you ask and they say not yet, you generally, blame your deck, you blame your team, maybe even you blame your stack. But you never actually ask this question, which is, have I actually earned the ask that I'm making?
I see holding them back is comfortability. I think it's really easy in a lot of ways to get some sort of a business that makes you an income and just stop there because you don't want to step outside your comfort zone and do the things that's really required to grow.
Now, as you've experienced, most of the industry best practices are bullshit, right? The MSP playbook, it says, what do you need to do? You need to educate your clients. You need to show the threat. You need to stack your services. But here's what happens whenever you do that, right? You build these beautiful decks. Then you cite all these kill chains, and maybe you even quote frameworks and a bunch of acronyms that they have no idea what mean or have anything to do with their business. And then the client, they're still stuck. Why? Because your ask still feels heavier than your value, right? You're offering all of this logic, and they actually need belief.
Built this really excellent enterprise level cybersecurity stack and then found out, oh, nobody wants to buy this.
Now, this funnel that the industry usually tells you to push your clients through is really all about what? Just adding a ton of friction. What's going to happen when you introduce that? You pour in all of this knowledge input at the top, and then you force feed all the friction through the whole system. And at the bottom, you're left with nothing more than emotional rejection when you get shut down or ghosted or closed or worse, thrown out of the building. So let's break down a little bit further what is actually necessary to avoid the entire process, right? Value is not a checklist. It's not even clarity. Value is emotional readiness. Your client, they need to feel safe, right? They also need to feel smart, and they need to feel supported. And if you miss on any of those things, then you end up back in this friction funnel, which is what you need to be avoiding. But most VCSOs, their offers, they feel more like a mirror of insecurity, because that's what they tell you to shove down their throat, rather than clarity.
Salespeople don't, I'm technical, somehow think I'm better than salespeople, right? I'm not married to a salesperson, by the way. There's a little bit more of humble pie I got to eat.
So let's just throw all that out and build a new model together, right? Let's take a look at one of the models you're getting used to seeing. On the left-hand side, we're going to place the ask, right? What is it that you're actually asking of the customer or for the customer when you're in that situation, right? In most cases, because of the way that the industry has taught you to do it, it's, hey, why don't you join our VCSO stuff, right? Yay. Or what? Sign this SAL. Or maybe even change how you think about cyber, right? We just challenge them altogether. It's a light bulb. Doesn't look like it, but it is one, right? But on the right-hand side, if we actually look at value, which is what you should be delivering, so let's put that over here. The value, like if we break down in terms of value, what it is that we actually do for the customer, but we very rarely ever say, it's ultimately, and as Jesse pointed out on the show, it's about clarity, right? And when you can speak in such terms of clarity, then you really align it with relevance, right? Relevant to them, not to you. Doesn't need to be about anything that it has to do with you and your MSP and how much better it makes you or how cool your stack is or how quick you can do something. It needs to be about them and their outcomes and their business and how it affects them. The relevance needs to be to your prospect or to your customer and not for you. That's why it's like a two-way mirror instead of one. After relevance, it's about safety. right? They need to feel emotionally and emotionally secure, but also just safe in their business. That's the thing that we're selling, but it's safe through like peace of mind. And that comes through the proof. Right now, if we zoom back out and we look at ultimately the ask that the industry is traditionally telling you to sell, or what actually gets someone to buy, we're really talking about the balance here of trust. And put yourself in the situation of the buyer. Just look at this screen, right? You're looking at these words. You see trust in the center. You know what it is you want to buy. Where is it, right? In the middle is trust. This is the weight of your ask, right? It's lopsided. And you wonder why you either get ghosted or they don't understand the price or the value, or they want to cut corners and only do half their environment just because they feel like they can pick in an itemized menu. It's because we haven't even set the right frame of reality that we wanted them to walk through and accept.
Copy is to seek to be as effective as possible in communicating with the least amount of words. That's the game. I'll give you the 80%, but I need you to pick the colors and decide where you're going to hang it up. The last thing I want is to be super prescriptive and whitewash the personality or the identity, or what I call the org DNA of your MSP.
So when you're breaking down the ask becomes liftable when they feel like it's theirs. Now, how did Jesse break this down? In the episode, he gave us a really simple, really clear way of looking at it. And ultimately, what we need to understand, it's not just VCSO selling, but it's sales in general. But specifically through this lens, at least, it's really about belief transfer, right? And because we know that it's ultimately about belief transfer, it really comes down to three different things, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier on the scale of what is it that we're asking of them and how do they feel about it? Do they feel safe enough to say yes? Right? Or are we just shoving that whole fear, uncertainty, and doubt bullshit down their throat and expecting them to feel good about it? Right? The other thing that we need them thinking about and feeling is, was this built for me? Right? It can't feel like this whole one size fits all or one size fits none solution. They're already asking themselves that. So we might as well get in front of that objection by tailoring it, even if that's through language and words and descriptions, going back to clarity and relevance, that it is for them. And for the last point, we're ultimately talking about identity. The identity that the buyer wants and has, probably because of where they sit in the organization, they want to feel smarter and not riskier for making the decision, right? So they want to feel smarter and not riskier for making the choice to either add these services or bring you on even though they don't have the other services.
It's not just a buying journey and it stops. It's a complete journey through the organization. So once that all came together about a year into this, that's when the unlock happened and we started really killing it.
So before you make your next big ask, I want you to pause and ask yourself this question. Have I earned this ask or not? And if not, all you have to do is add clarity, reduce friction, and earn the right. Because VCSO isn't about persuasion. It's about emotional engineering. And when you do those three things, even if you have the same service, the same stack, it's going to land like a burden to the client, not like a breakthrough. It all depends on how much weight your client feels that you've earned. So build belief before you ask for action, and that's the lever that lifts the sale.